Ladies and gentlemen, the camera being on at this point in time instead of the intro graphic is not a mistake on my part. This weekend has been, for lack of a better word, tragic. And I'm not talking about fantasy teams, and I am not talking about knee injuries. There will be plenty of time for that here later. But the fantasy community has lost one of our own in James the Brain of the Superflex Show. And my apologies, I'm not going to attempt the last name. John Hogue, his co-host, tweeted out on Sunday night after the slate of NFL games had completed that James passed away Saturday evening. James is somebody that Dan and I both played in leagues with. We've both interacted with. Was always willing to lend a helping hand. An incredible guy to chat with. We'd been on their show. I believe he'd been on our show a couple times for some division preview stuff. It was always a pleasure to have on. For those that don't know, the fantasy community is very, very tight-knit amongst host shows. If you listen to more than one podcast, chances are that behind the scenes, the host of your show, the host of this show, the host of other shows are interacting. They've crossed over. They've been there to lend a helping hand, to give advice, and to help out. So the loss of James is very, very sad because he was one of the true members of those true good people in the community. We ask that you keep his family as well as co-hosts, both present and former, in your thoughts as they deal with this difficult time. Also on Sunday, there was late breaking news that James White was going to miss the game, and it was easy, given the rash of injuries that had already occurred by Sunday night, to assume, as we did. As it turns out, James White lost his father in a car accident, and his mother is placed in critical condition. So, on a less personal note, but a still sad note, we send out our thoughts and prayers to them. I will give Dan a moment to give his thoughts, and then shots come later, and then before we get into the show, we'll hold a little moment of silence for both of them just to reflect.
Yeah, I mean, this one, felt a bit, this one hit a little bit harder. I've yet to really loss from people that I know, just even not just with family, but just people I know, and getting to know and do guest spots and interact with James over the past what seems to be 4 seasons. It's been incredible. We're in leagues with him. We've had conversations. We made a trade in a rookie draft like a few months ago, and it hurts hard. It hurts. But what's great to see is how the community as a whole has banded together. Both John and Addison Hayes, I believe, have set up a PayPal in James's sister's name to help with any sort of support. If you want to donate or have any questions about it, please reach out to John Hogue or Addison Hayes, and they'll get you set up and at least put you in the right direction. Donate the best you can. This is a trying time for just people in general, but to have a death of a family member on top of it is unfathomable to think of. Help if you can. Keep his family in his prayers tonight. James White, that it's something that you just don't see coming. Thoughts and prayers out to him, his family, to deal with the loss of their father. Hopefully, not the loss of their mother.
Yeah. We will put the PayPal link in the show description when we tweet this out, as well as it'll be in the description on wherever you may be listening, unless it's YouTube. So, that being said, a moment of silence. Colton will get to you in just a second. A moment of silence before we enter the show. And welcome to Beerfield Fantasy Football. I am your host at Hop BFF with 2 Ps, Kris Hopper, as always, joined by my esteemed co-host, Dan Thury BFF. Dan, welcome to the show. How has your Monday been?
It's been a pretty good day. I went out and played a couple of rounds of disc golf, shot 2 very good rounds, got to beat a buddy of mine who was shit-talking that was trying to beat their other buddy, and I was just an afterthought. Ended up beating both of them. So always feels good to stick it to the haters.
It does always feel good to stick it to the haters. We got a really packed show for you here. We got to get through all the week 3 previews. We got to get all the injuries from week 2, and there were a ton of them. A lot of fantasy teams hurt, and a lot of fantasy teams looking for waiver pickups. A lot of fantasy teams right now that are turned around asking, what do I do? Because I have either for the rest of the season or at least the next couple weeks lost a key cog in my fantasy team. But no worries. Us in the bottle cap will be here for you. Bottle cap, the thing that Dan trusts more than me, will be here for you throughout the season. Before we go ahead and get into what is fueling Beerfield, Colton says he went all in on CMC and Barkley in an auction draft. Basically, loses the league if he doesn't make moves. What should I be looking to sell CMC for? Got an offer, but he thinks it's shitty. It's Dobbins, Malcolm Brown, and Fournette. Fournette looked good, first off. That's not a bad consolation prize.
But he's still going to be... There's still competition, a competition for carries, and LaShawn McCoy led all backs in receiving, so it's going to be an ugly 3-headed backfield until somebody, which is probably going to be Fournette at some point, emerges.
Yeah, and I'd imagine it is Fournette emerging. I'm not necessarily advocating for taking that, but Cam Akers is one of the injuries in light of Malcolm Brown. Yes, Darrell Henderson saw the bulk of that. We'll have more on that later. As far as what you should be looking for, I'd just be looking for, a lesser tier running back and a dart thrower. I'd look for somebody to maybe, tier down. If you can maybe parlay Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb. Both of those guys have gotten off to good starts this season. I won't necessarily advocate for James Conner, but if Josh Jacobs has a down week, people like that, you can go try to grab them. And then a guy, Leonard Fournette would kind of fit that mold, but a guy like a Leonard Fournette, a Malcolm Brown, maybe even a Nyheim Hines, J.K. Dobbins potentially. I'd basically be looking for what you'd classically consider, an RB2 and a flex, and hope you can work with that, or a back end RB1 and a flex, and hope you can work with that. McCaffrey, Dan, did you happen to see what the prognosis was on CMC? I think it was multiple weeks.
A high ankle sprain, out 4 to 6 weeks.
And usually when people, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but usually when backs come back from that, they aren't great. Even if, he may be back in 4, but for backs like CMC that rely a bit on agility, we've seen that zap Barkley, we've seen that zap Fournette, we've seen that zap elusiveness out of James Conner. I mean, that injury in particular, even if they do make it back early, hurts running back. So I don't think you're losing as much as you think in giving up CMC, because historically speaking, that injury has plagued them for the rest of the season, even if they do make it back onto the field.
Yeah, I mean, to Barkley's credit, he came back even earlier. He did have the rough stretch afterwards, then went on to dominate in the playoffs. But as for moving CMC, I would wait until what you could pick up. Not to say that Mike Davis is the answer. He only had 1 carry. And Trent Cannon's the only other running back on the roster, but Davis did 8 targets. And a team that's really bad on defense that's going to have to throw the football to keep up in a high-scoring division. Not the worst constellation. If you have to move him, you're not going to get anywhere close to equal value in terms of what he could give you post his return. The same thing that people had to deal with Barkley last year, and that was an even smaller timetable. I wouldn't take the first offer that comes to you. You can try to shop around to see what you can get and take the best deal that's available to you. I don't know what the best deal is going to be. It could be an RB2 flex guy with another flex guy. It's hard to say because we don't quite know what, like, is he going to be gone for those, for those 4 to 6 weeks, or is he going to take a bit longer or try to come back earlier?
I got an offer of all of those 3 for 1. So it was Dobbins, Brown, and Fournette for McCaffrey. It was, here's Brown's a flex, Dobbins you're hoping he breaks out. Fournette is kind of that high RB2, probably.
I'm not in love with Baltimore's backfield. Like, just it is changed again. Dobbins had 2 carries. He didn't get a touch until the second half, and it was just like in week 1 they had that game well in hand.
I'm not either, but put yourself in the other shoes though. If you are on the other end of a trade for CMC, you're going to be, how much are you willing to offer up right now, given that historically in a 3 for 1? How much? I'm not saying you're saying that. I'm asking you, what would you be willing to offer up if you're on the other end?
If I'm trying to get CMC, this is the type of offer I'd be trying to move out. 3 guys. Fournette could be a tough loss. We don't quite know how that Tampa Bay backfield is going to play out. I don't trust Baltimore's backfield. This was my concern with Dobbins in redraft. And Malcolm Brown, I won't say he got replaced, but Darrell Henderson's not going away. And if Cam Akers isn't to miss a lot of time, Cam got to start and got the early down carries right away and looked to be somewhat effective with them. So I think the guy offering this deal to Colton is making the right move. You're trying to move 3 guys potentially, for a guy who's scared because he just lost CMC.
Well, and you're trying to move Fournette high. You're trying to move Fournette coming off of a good week too.
Yeah.
So
I would not, Colton. I would not accept this deal. I would wait and see what more information we have, and if you can get some usable replacements, because Mike Davis might be better than all 3 of these guys.
Yeah, you're looking for help on the waiver wire, especially in the case of CMC. You're looking to survive that in a sense, and there's been enough injury scare, for example, to where you may be able to survive that without having to go out and necessarily make a trade. There's also, we're 2 weeks in. Week 3, you'll at least have a quorum on how some of this usage is going to happen. Personally, if it were me, I'm kind of with Dan. I would be hesitant, but I could talk myself into doing it because of the inclusion of Leonard Fournette and how good he did look. But again, we're coming off of a big week. Is that going to be the norm? Well, we're 2 weeks in. We got 1 week of him barely being used and 1 week of him looking fantastic. So
it's the same thing with Malcolm Brown too. We got 1 week of looking very good, and then the next week he was an afterthought. And it was the third guy. And Dobbins again had 2 touchdowns week 1, led the team in carries and snaps. Same game script played a part in week 2. And it was Mark Ingram and Gus Edwards.
Right. So it's tough with those 3. We'll get more into waiver zone in a minute. We got to talk about what we're drinking first.
What's fueling Beer Fueled?
All right, Dan, what are you sipping on?
I am continuing with the pumpkin theme. I got this, was given to me by Andrew, my coworker at Benny. He gave me a Breckenridge Nitro Pumpkin Spice Latte. Its base is a coffee milk stout with pumpkin and the spices that go along with it, nutmeg, part of that. It's nitro. I'm not the biggest fan of nitro. I think it dilutes a lot of flavor too much. But more of my thoughts on this beer later.
Yeah, I'm with you. Nitro, very, very much. I mean, what it does is it makes it creamy and it kills carbonation. So, I mean, there's a place for nitro, but it's few and far between that I actually enjoy nitro. So, Yeah, I'm interested to see what you have to say. I'm continuing Bourbon Heritage Month, which you should probably expect by now. Tonight's offering is Weller Special Reserve. So, again, Bourbon Heritage Month is all throughout the month of September. I'll be drinking bourbon all month. Weller Special Reserve, though, Buffalo Trace offering. It is the line that basically sits below Pappy Van Winkle, or at least in the same realm but below. It is a wheated bourbon offering. So in wheated bourbons, typically your secondary grain in bourbon is going to be rye. Wheated bourbons replace the rye with wheat, and what that gives you is a little bit creamier bourbon, oftentimes a little bit sweeter with some more citrus notes, and sometimes honey as well. But generally speaking, you're getting a sweeter, creamier, not quite as spicy bourbon whenever you get a wheated. Weller line Special Reserve is the bottom of the Weller line of bourbons. Above that, you go into Antique 107, Weller 12, and then the CYPB single barrel releases and full proof. So Special Reserve generally widely available, especially down in the South. But not widely available doesn't mean you're going to walk in and find it on a shelf all the time. Antique 107, the step above this, if you happen to be in Ohio, is also pretty readily available. So full review coming up in the middle of the show. And with 107 in Ohio, I do mean you can walk in and probably find it sitting on a shelf somewhere.
Probably.
Which is not normal anywhere else. Nope. All right. Let's go ahead and get into some of this injury news and really some recaps. So, Saquon Barkley tore his ACL early, out for the season. Dion Lewis saw 10 carries after that. Only 20 yards, though. 5 targets, 4 receptions, 36 yards. So 56 yards in total against the Bears, who are a tougher defense. Lewis, though, did not look great last year. Played all snaps post-Barkley injury. No idea where Wayne Gallman was. And Devonta Freeman is scheduled to visit the Giants on Tuesday. And quite honestly, I would expect them to sign a veteran. This is going to be a hot hand approach, I fear.
I mean, it's also the Giants whose offense really isn't great. The loss of Barkley is just massive. It's going to lower their scoring opportunity. It's going to make them far more one-dimensional. Daniel Jones, who struggled with turnovers last year, is going to be called upon and really put on that pedestal to see who he is when he's the guy leading the charge. I mean, this team was built around Barkley. The offensive line was built to make Barkley effective, and he's gone. And we have to see what Jones can do, and now he's the focal point with a relatively young receiving core with Sterling Shepard, who's now going to be lost for a couple of weeks. Golden Tate has been in and out of the lineup. It's going to be, called upon Jones, Slayton, and Evan Ingram to kind of help propel this offense forward. I think you hit the nail on the head there with Dion Lewis. He was good in relief, but I there's no way that he's going to be the lead back. And Devonta Freeman, who knows what we're going to get from him? He's waited his time for this specific week, and he's going to probably be out of football shape, and he was terrible last year. So not really that excited. Lewis, I think, is definitely worth a grab. It's not something I'm going to rush out there for and put a lot of fab into, though.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I think that you can grab, especially if you're the Saquon owner. If somebody else grabs Lewis from you, go ahead and grab Wayne Gallman. Go ahead or grab Devonta Freeman just in case. Because I wouldn't say one really has a better chance than another one.
It looks like Wayne Gallman was just inactive.
Well, he won't be now.
He won't be now. He'll definitely be active.
And Wayne Gallman is who was, spelling Saquon a lot in week 1. So, just
not a great sign when you get a healthy scratch and then slated for Dion Lewis instead. I think this is going to be just a shittier version of like what the Vikings ran out with a post-AP injury or a post-Cook injury a few years ago when it was Latavius Murray and Jared McKinnon, and you're just going to get a crappy version of both out there.
Well, and again, it's not a great offense, so
yep,
that's something. Yep, we'll see, but not a great offense. and you're taking a dart throw at one or the other. Some alternatives that we'll talk about. We're going to go through running backs first, and then we'll get there.
Okay.
To what I was about to do. Christian McCaffrey, high ankle sprain. He's out for 4 to 6 weeks. As you mentioned, Mike Davis had 1 carry, but was 8 for 8, 74 yards through the air. They were getting their asses kicked, for lack of a better term. Trenton Cannon is the only other rostered running back. Mike Davis is going to get the crack on this because he's the best guy there. As far as they're another team that I expect to fully either promote somebody or sign somebody. And
I wouldn't be surprised.
But Mike Davis is who you go grab here. You have to. You don't have another choice.
Yeah, he's the one. You're not going to feel great about it. That I don't see him mirroring this 8 targets, 8 catches, on 8 targets again. But, Chargers, Cardinals, Falcons are his next 3 games. Going to be rough next week. You're probably not going to play him. Cardinals and Falcons can at least push pace and keep scoring up, but I don't think they'll be the ones in line to pick up Devonta Freeman with McCaffrey slated to only miss about a month and a half at worst, it sounds like. But they could be a team that tries to pick up somebody off of the practice squad, or maybe they're the ones that want to trade for one of these other running backs that somehow survived, and it's just a kind of a replacement until McCaffrey's ready.
Agreed. Yeah, and again, we'll get into some alternative options that aren't just direct handcuffs here. Tevin Coleman, multiple weeks into the MCL sprain. Raheem Mostert, 3 weeks with an MCL sprain. So Niners got completely tore up from the floor up here. This is going to be the Jerick McKinnon show.
And Jeffrey Wilson.
Jeffrey Wilson will get promoted, and we've seen Jeffrey Wilson perform in limited duty. Jerick McKinnon, though, going to get the chance to be a lead back again. And if I am looking at somebody that I think has the most upside during the weeks that their starter is injured, it is probably Jerick McKinnon, given how well San Francisco runs the football, unless you're Tevin Coleman.
Yeah, he should be. He is who I think I want to spend my fab on. At least until, at least I guess hear more information. But for all the running backs that we've lost this week, McKinnon already got love. He's already had 2 big plays for touchdowns in the first 2 weeks.
Yep.
You still have to keep in mind that Kyle Shanahan likes to run a by committee approach, a hot hand by approach. Jeffrey Wilson had also had productive weeks. The weeks he was active the last 2 seasons. JaMychal Hasty, I think he was on a Baylor, is expected to be promoted off the practice squad. We know how Kyle Shanahan loves his undrafted free agents.
And we know how he uses running backs, too. He will use Hasty. Hasty's going to have to perform and earn himself a role and earn the ability to get early game touches to see if he's the guy for that game, but he will get the chance.
Exactly.
He uses his backs. One on here that you did forget on running back wise, Cam Akers left his game with a rib injury. So Akers was seeing the majority of the touches before he was injured. Darrell Henderson completely took over after that.
There's been no update on it. Mike Davis, Malcolm Brown did lead the team in snaps. All 3 running backs were somewhat efficient. They're all over 4 yards per carry. It's just that Henderson got the touchdown and got the big plays. I fully expected Akers to miss time, a 50-50 or a damn near 50-50 split, making both Brown and Henderson, I would say, avoidable, but you are taking a stab in the dark with that one.
And over 4 yards to carry, Henderson was 6.75. He was pretty good. Yeah. And
they were all very good against a what the fuck's going on
Eagles team. Yeah.
So
yep. Some other guys that are, and this is per NFL fantasy, so take this for what you will. Some other guys that are under, or right around, or under 50% owned that could be available for you. James Robinson's only 51% owned.
That's got to change.
Yeah, he had another very, very solid week. Matt Breida Miami showed that they will use him some. He is 43% owned. That's not a bad one to hold on to. Aforementioned Darrell Henderson, especially if Cam Akers misses time, had a great week against Philadelphia. He's 31% owned. Latavius Murray got some split work with Alvin Kamara, 27.5% owned. He could be a worthwhile plug-in. Jerick McKinnon, just 15% owned, is another guy that you could potentially look at picking up. Some other names here, I guess.
Myles Gaskin's got to be up there. 7 targets at 6 catches, played 65% on the snaps.
Yep.
I know we expect Breida to get a little bit more work, but Jordan Howard looks to be, besides that touchdown, dead at this point too. He 5 carries for 4 yards, while both Gaskins and Breida were highly efficient with their touches.
Yep. Joshua Kelly, he was the guy in at the end of the game, 23 for 64, and another 49 yards receiving. So Joshua Kelly's out there too, barely owned, and is per NFL Fantasy at 7.7%. So there's some other names for you that are not direct handcuffs, but are guys that are generally floating around out there that are going to be hot commodities that you should probably try to get your hands on, because they are being useful without injuries. And those are not only plug-in pieces that you can use, those are pieces that you can continue to use after your guys get back for bye week fill-ins and things of that nature.
Yeah, James Robinson's the guy you got to go out and try to pick up.
I would argue the same for Joshua Kelly. Those would be the top guys.
Josh Kelly too.
The two at the top of my wish list.
But it looks like Robinson's going to have no competition. It's just whether or not we believe Jacksonville can keep up with the scoring. They do get Miami this week on Thursday night. And then Joshua Kelly, if that role continues to be the same, especially if they decide not to move away from Herbert, which is who the fuck's wrong with Anthony Lynn. But
yeah, Tyrod Taylor's their starter if he's healthy, they've said.
If there's always going to be an excuse why Herbert's starting this week.
Yeah.
But either way, James Robinson, I think, would be my number one. And then obviously you can make great arguments for Joshua Kelly, Myles Gaskin again. Even though Miami's got a pretty rough schedule coming up, those would be my top 3 outside of Mike Davis if you're the CMC owner.
Yeah. By the way, Myles Gaskin, I'm not taking a victory lap on that one yet, but I might have been one of the only people that liked Miles. Well, no, you did after draft, post draft.
I mean, it was an odd year last year. He went undrafted. Or no, he's what, a
seventh rounder
pick.
Yeah.
He was productive at Washington. He's just undersized. He got placed into a team that wanted to tank and for some reason keep using Kalen Ballage.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's getting his opportunity. He has overtaken to what most of us presume were the starters, and Jordan Howard and Matt Breida, and now Gaskins is commanding. He's not commanding all the touches, but he's hyper efficient, and he just got off a 7-target game. And Miami, just like with the Panthers and just like with Jacksonville, is a team that's not going to compete. They have bad defenses that are going to be playing from behind. And if Gaskins is the main 3-down satellite back who's getting all the pass catching work, you want to have him rostered on your team.
For sure. All right. Wide receivers, Sterling Shepard, turf toe. So the Giants having all of their weapons healthy, particularly Sterling Shepard and Golden Tate, has not materialized again. So Slayton and Tate should see, again, minimal difference, as you said. Damian Ratley was next man up, but really Darius Slayton's still the only guy I want anything to do with here.
Yeah, I mean, we spent a lot of time on this offense. It's Slayton, Ingram, maybe Tate.
Yep. Cortland Sutton, knee injury. He's out for the season. Jerry Jeudy saw 7 targets with that. Tim Patrick, 5. And KJ Hamler, 7. Noah Fant, 5. So, what I'm reading from this is that, one, Jerry Jeudy is the guy that you'd expect to be anointed as his replacement. Tim Patrick's the guy that's done it. And Noah Fant has been probably the most impressive piece in the Broncos offense so far, outside of what little bit we got out of Cortland Sutton, and then Melvin Gordon being surprisingly good the last couple weeks.
It's not like Jeff Driscoll looked terrible.
No, Jeff Driscoll looked really good. So if I'm taking shots here, Jerry Jeudy's probably owned. Noah Fant, tight ends being the way that they are, maybe not. Tim Patrick, definitely not. So if you need a replacement there, I'm probably looking. If you're looking for somebody from that offense that'll get additional target share, it's Jerry Jeudy. If you're looking for somebody on waivers, KJ Hamler is an option. Tim Patrick's the guy that's done it. I would churn a roster spot on both of them and see how it goes. Not at the same time. Next man up.
Next 5 weeks before their bye week, Buccaneers, Jets, Patriots, Dolphins, Chiefs.
Other than the Patriots and the Chiefs, that's a pretty solid run.
I mean, even Chiefs get up early, they play soft. There's going to be garbage time. I mean, Denver and Jeff Driscoll just did this against Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, arguably one of the better defenses in football. We got to see the Patriots get Swiss cheesed out there last night against Seattle. I'm not saying that Jeff Driscoll led Broncos are going to Swiss cheese the Patriots by any means, but it's not looking as bad as what maybe we thought of with
no, and for a couple weeks. Really Driscoll in Cincinnati sustained some fantasy options also. So
yeah.
Paris Campbell, PCL injury, no timetable for his return. Michael Pittman, every time I looked up, was involved. I was surprised the stat line. He passed the eye test for sure. Out-targeted T.Y. Hilton again. Zach Pascal had the touchdown. Paris Campbell was not necessarily getting enough work for it to move the needle on anybody. Notwithstanding, though, Michael Pittman seems poised to take over as the one if that materializes into being fantasy worthy. So he's the guy that I want here.
Yeah, I mean, I want the guy who's getting the most target share, or at least the most snap share, in Michael Pittman. I don't know. We got to talk about T.Y. a little bit here. He was one of everyone's, favorite, I guess sleepers, quote unquote. And he's been kind of an afterthought and just replaced by rookies. Maybe Hilton is someone that could be moved on in terms of trade before the deadline. If he's been, I won't say if he's been, I guess, surpassed by number 1, 2, and 3. Is he the fourth option now? I mean, he's the third now with Campbell for the year, but is he now?
Well, there's
the fourth option.
There was a worry here when Phillip Rivers came in anyway about how T.Y. Hilton was going to materialize with him, right? I mean, Travis Benjamin went to San Diego to die. So, it was a matter of how is T.Y. Hilton's skill set going to mesh with Phillip Rivers, and I think we have the answer so far. It hasn't.
Yeah.
So
it not look pretty.
It's been more Pittman and intermediate. So, T.Y. Hilton, he may get moved before the deadline. You're hoping and praying and crossing fingers at that point in time. So, I'm just gonna say it's Pittman here, and I don't want anything else. It's not like Rivers is using the hell out of his wide receivers anyway.
No, it seems to be Jonathan Taylor, whatever healthy tight end, because Molly Cox had a great
Molly Cox had a fantastic game.
With Jack Doyle missing week 2. We got a question we got to pivot to. It's a bit of a funny one. Josh says this. Hey guys, let me say this is my 12-year-old's first time playing fantasy football.
Okay.
He's 0-2. He's playing with friends and family. He's lost Le'Veon Bell, Philip Lindsay, AJ Brown, and Michael Thomas. None of them are going to be out for the year, but he's in a significant hole at 0-2 and losing what was probably 2 of his first 4 picks, depending on where Bell went. He further on to mention his son offered him Michael Thomas for Chris Carson, and he's asking if he should take the trade because he doesn't want to feel like he's taken advantage of. If you don't want to take advantage of him, just throw in a second piece, throw in a flex receiver. Then I think it's a little more worthy. Thomas, we don't know how long that timetable is. There's been no one real given. So how would you feel if you knew the person offering you Michael Thomas for Chris Carson? you're getting you're getting Michael Thomas in this deal.
Well, it would depend because I would know their skill level at that point in time, and I would know if they were blatantly trying to take advantage of me or not.
Yeah.
That is even with Michael Thomas missing time, that's the guy everybody expected to be the fantasy wide receiver one. So that's a little bit of a lopsided deal. I think that Carson's a good piece to help out if you're missing people. I think you probably need to get one, if not two more, also usable pieces in that deal. And that doesn't mean that they have to be every week starters or they have to be a plug it and forget it guy. But, we're talking, maybe Deontay Johnson, who's been off to a good start. That's the type of player. I don't know who else is on that roster that you could target. Robbie Anderson, who's been off to a good start. Guys like that you're not necessarily going to feel great about playing every week, but can really help you tread water. What you're really looking for is Chris Carson's the guy you can plug in without thinking about. You're getting a usable piece. You want two or more pieces that might not be usable every week. One or two extra pieces that may not be usable every week, but that you can definitely get use out of. Another tip here is just like Dan just ran down. Take a look at schedules for the next 4 to 5 weeks when those guys, the length of time a lot of those guys are expected to be out, and find somebody that's got soft matchups that people wouldn't really think about being good and maybe target them. Just you don't have to hit a home run here, but you want to hit at least a double.
Yeah, with this being a friends and family league and your son playing in, or your son or daughter, excuse me, I don't mean to assume, playing in their first year, this would be the year not to take advantage of them. You want them to, to enjoy it. Obviously, he's off to a rough start, but everybody is at this point.
I'm off to a rough start.
It's been an odd start to this year. This is what happens when we don't get preseason, by the way. So, Josh, if you want to not, feel like he's being taken advantage of, find your third or fourth receiver on that team and make a move. We don't know the future of Chris Carson in this Seattle team.
Right now it looks solid.
With Carlos Hyde getting a lot of run as well. We don't know also how long Michael Thomas is going to be out for. This would be a good time to...
Well, and you have Rashad Penny coming back too. Don't forget that either. Rashad Penny will be back here in the next several weeks. I mean, look, Chris Carson's getting the bulk of touches right now. It's not, and he's being productive. 108 scrimmage yards this past week and a touchdown.
That Seattle team.
It is not imminent that Chris Carson is going anywhere.
That Seattle team looks pretty.
They do.
Ooh, they're letting Russ cook, man. He's got 7 touchdowns to 6 incompletions or something, or like 7 or what?
He had 5 touchdowns to
9 touchdowns or 10 touchdowns to 7 incomplete. Russ has gone off. By any stretch of the imagination, he's gone.
Patriots game, he had 5 touchdowns versus 7 incompletions.
Russ is cooking. Jack, next question here. Hey guys, should I trade David Johnson and Josh Kelly for Joe Mixon? I would. This is
I know you would.
I'm also a massive believer in Joe Mixon. I'm also a massive believer that the Cincinnati team, who just went through a huge overhaul of their offense without a preseason, is going to be better than what we've seen. I would make that move. I think you may feel differently, and that may be because of the emergence of Josh Kelly.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. The emergence of Josh Kelly is, a runner in particular, right? Mixon's averaging 3.3 yards per attempt again. We all believe in the talent that is Joe Mixon. So far, you've got 1 good season. You've got 2 bad games in this season. Everybody's expecting him to break out. I agree with you. I expect that Bengals team to get better. Josh Kelly's a usable piece that started off well, that out-touched Austin Eckler. So, they're not, especially if the Chargers are up and trying to hold on to a lead, they're going to use Josh Kelly. And Josh Kelly right now has outproduced Joe Mixon. So, I don't know that that's a trade I would make right now, because given the number of pieces, I don't know you're getting a ton of ROI for that. Is Joe Mixon going to be better than the sum of Josh Kelly and David Johnson this year? And if you ask me, the answer is no. That's far from a guarantee. Some weeks, maybe, but overall, for the next 14 weeks through a playoffs and everything, no, I don't believe so. So, I'm out on that type of 2-for-1.
I would smash accept it. I would be thrilled to get a deal like that. David Johnson, they're not going to play against the Chiefs in Baltimore. They're opening up their season at all. They're done playing them for the rest of the year. So better days are ahead for David Johnson. The thing is with Josh Kelly is that, granted, they did it against the Chiefs. The Chargers were out for the majority of that game. They should have won that game. It's great to see, but this is a time where if you're selling high on a running back who could lose, who could end up being his best week, for a true workhorse back, who I do expect to get better in Mixon, especially with that offensive line. These guys, they're finally not hurt, and it's going to take time for the offensive line to gel, and I think you're going to see improvements week in and week out. I've always been a Mixon believer, especially for fantasy. Mixon's been the most, diverse guy, or, most talked about guy in fantasy over the last few weeks here. I would do this, and I would look back. But it's a great question to ask, because you're going to get people who are, feeling a little bit burnt by Joe Mixon, and who may want to move off this ship if they think, Cincinnati is not going to get better but get worse. So I think it's a great question, Jack. I do.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a bad question. I'm just saying.
Oh, no.
I personally wouldn't do it. Especially the Chargers and the Browns, Mixon did. The
Chargers have a legit
pass rush and secondary. The Browns, you got an excuse for that one? Or you got Eagles and Jacksonville the next 2 weeks. Mixon does. So you're probably okay there. But yeah, Jack, Dan's the quintessential Mixon truther, and I think Mixon could suck for 4 more years, and Dan's still going to be like, oh man, he's going to break out. It's just going to be year 9.
That's it is.
Yeah,
what it is.
Remember when he had that one good season his sophomore year when he was healthy?
He had back-to-back 1,200. He had back-to-back almost 1,400 total yards. It's whether or not Cincinnati can get him there. The talent is there. Move the fuck on from from Gio Bernard. Why the hell is he in there doing what the fuck he's doing? Maybe this is more of an indictment of how off Zach Taylor has been since becoming head coach. But I'm not willing to give up on him after 2 weeks, and I would rather trade for him, knowing or thinking that I think there's a great chance that he has to bounce back.
Keep in mind, I'm not giving up on him. I'm just saying I don't believe that him is a single entity is better than the sum of David Johnson and Josh Kelly. That's all.
That's true. That's fair. All right.
Okay.
Where are we?
We're on wide receivers. Went through Paris Campbell, Jamison Crowder, hamstring, Brashad Perriman ankle. Look, Jets are playing from behind a lot. Jets, not great. Not a great team.
Fuck Braxton Berrios, by the way.
I fucking love Braxton Berrios.
That touchdown, took away my 4-teamer because the game went over in total points.
I love Braxton Berrios, but he did catch a long touchdown at the end, which made his day look a lot better than what it was. Chris Hogan, probably the most likely to benefit because it's apparently not Chris Herndon. So Chris Hogan's experience, we've seen him produce with target volume. Denzel Mims is still out, Jamison Crowder's still out, Brashad Perriman's still out. You'd think that this is a recipe for Chris Herndon to produce, but apparently not. Chris Hogan's probably the guy that you want to snap up. Braxton Berrios, I see his ceiling is Hunter Renfroe. So, yeah.
I mean,
it's a good floor, I guess, potentially.
I mean, you said it. This is going, like, how long is Adam Gase really going to say as a head coach? And Sam Darnold, despite, it's probably, that game was one of the worst called games I've ever seen. You're down double-digit points, and you continuously keep giving the ball to Frank fucking Gore, who hasn't been efficient as a runner in, 7 years. We need to, for the love of fucking God, please fire Adam Gase. Free up Sam Darnold from this travesty. And let's see what he can actually do when the offense wants to open up a bit more. It sucks about Chris Herndon. Your offensive line is so bad, you're making him block, which is horrible for fantasy, unless you're in a points per block league.
Mm-hmm.
But one of these guys is going to have to catch passes because the Jets are going to be playing from behind majority of the games. And at least Darnold is a more than good enough of a passer to at least make one of these guys relevant.
Sure. Will Fuller, undisclosed injury. He was in and out. That's about the every other week case for Will Fuller.
He took a chance, and it lasted 1 week for you.
Yeah, it sure did. Devontae Adams, the hamstring, not considered serious, shouldn't affect his playing time. We'll see with that one. Valdez-Scantling, Allen Lazard both continue to look competent at least. So those guys should be on a roster anyway, in my opinion.
It should be. They both definitely should be rostered.
Yeah, so you're not really adjusting there. Looking at doing the same waiver wire exercise of what's available at wide receiver. We'll go below 65% this time. Jerry Jeudy is out there. Yeah, Anthony Miller would not be a bad stream option against Atlanta this upcoming week. Chris Godwin.
Where's Russell Gage? Speaking of Atlanta, Russell Gage again.
Yeah, Russell Gage is 18% owned. So Russell Gage came off another good week. Corey Davis is very rosterable at this point in time. Preston Williams, Scotty Miller. Miller probably doesn't have much of a role with Godwin coming back, but Preston Williams at 29.9%, Russell Gage at 18.9%, both very, very viable. Valdez-Scantling, who we previously mentioned, is not rostered in a lot of places. So, yeah, and that's about the end of people I think I want to roster. Adam Humphries.
N'Keal Harry. I'm sure he's owned a bit higher than
yeah, he's a bit higher. KJ Hamler had 7 targets. He's out there. And yeah, no, that's really Demir Bird actually was utilized, I guess. If you're in a really deep league and into that type of thing, I want that to be a thing so bad.
I mean, if the Patriots keep playing from behind the way they do, it will be a thing.
Yeah. If I'm looking at that list of people that I just listed off and who my priority there is, I just hit the wrong button. I'm looking at Des Bryant and Dante Pettis, and it's definitely not either of them. Jerry Jeudy, if you happen to be in a league where he is available. Anthony Miller for this week. But Valdez-Scantling, Allen Lazard, and Russell Gage, who are all available, are probably the 3 guys I'm running out to roster to see if they can sustain any type of, wide receiver 2-3 type of performance. And I think all 3 of them have the possibility to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a note today that Aaron Rodgers leads through 2 weeks has had the cleanest of pockets. 83% of his pockets he's had. I think it was more than 4 seconds to throw or some shit like that. So when you give Rodgers opportunity to actually sling the football around, and that's going to make even the average of receivers in Lazard and MVS both very much usable. Now they get the Saints next week, and then Atlanta in week 4. Then post by Tampa Bay, Houston, Minnesota. They're tough. Their next tough opponent, potentially tough opponent, is week 9 against San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
wheels up for both MVS and Lazard. Both not great, but if we just saw a shit ton of people go down. Like, one of those guys is going to pop up, especially if Adams, especially if this injury is worse than what they say. I mean, it's a hamstring. We've seen hamstrings linger throughout the entire season. Have caused players to have recurring injuries, miss time, miss games. So both those receivers should be rostered.
Agreed. Quarterbacks, there are a couple of them. Drew Lock went down with a shoulder injury. He's gonna miss multiple weeks, just shoulder strain, I believe. So, Jeff Driscoll looked really, really good in relief duty. Jeff Driscoll may honestly be streamable under some circumstances.
Bucks, Jets, then Patriots. Week 3 and 4,
he's very
5 or bench, and then if he's still the starting quarterback, week 6, Miami.
Yeah, no, I like Jeff Driscoll for the next 2 weeks. I don't know what that says about me, but I like Jeff Driscoll for the next 2 weeks.
I think he becomes streamable in deeper super flex leagues if you lost to Drew Lock, if you lost to Jimmy Garoppolo, if you had to endure Kirk fucking Cousins looking like the spawn of Satan out there.
Kirk Cousins, ever since it came out, he tried to hire Scott Stapp. Not been great.
You know how many points he lost in Scott Fish? -20.
Jesus.
Because it's a sack penalty,
interception penalties,
a pick penalty, and then incompletion penalties.
Oof.
Scott has found a way. Scott Fish has found a way. Shout out to the Scott Fish Bowl. Has found a way to truly make QBs boom bust. Like negative fucking 20, man. That's woof. Tank for Trevor is in full effect amongst Vikings fans right now. But at least the Denver piece is out there. Your Judys. Now, your Noah fans are, if you don't feel as...
Actually, that completion percentage is a little bit atrocious. He was barely over 50%, but 256 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
You take what you can get. Time. Yep, take what you can get, I guess.
And then now we lost Jimmy Garoppolo. Also expected to be out for a couple of weeks.
Yep, Nick Mullins doesn't change the way that offense is run, so... you're not running out to stream Nick Mullins, just like you're not really starting Jimmy Garoppolo ever. It doesn't move the needle on the, guys that they hired from Subway to play wide receiver. And it doesn't change anything on either tight end or the running game to me.
Adebo's got a couple weeks left before he's off of IR. Guys, again, please remember that the IR slots are shortened to 3 weeks, unlimited. So expect to see maybe someone has dropped Deebo Samuel with the loss of their receivers. I think he's worth a pickup. You can, stomach the roster spot being taken out for a couple weeks. Because there's no other, receivers here. George Kittle has been banged up as well. So we're at that point where we got to start looking ahead potentially some of these guys coming off of IR.
All right, that is it for the follow-up. Let's go ahead and get into some weekly previews.
Weekly preview.
All right, Miami and Jacksonville kick off the week on Thursday night. Jacksonville opens as 2.5-point favorites. Also, -148 odds on the money line. Over/under on this game is 47 points. So this game could be weirdly good.
I mean, Miami just put up almost 30 points
against the Bills. Yeah,
against the Bills.
And Jacksonville really hung with a good Tennessee defense too. So this game could be surprisingly good. As far as what you're running out there, I think that Fitzpatrick and Minshew both are very, very streamable, especially in Superflex if you just lost like a Drew Lock. I think that you're okay with James Robinson. You mentioned Myles Gaskin. I think that you've got to be go on Preston Williams and Devontae Parker. And, DJ Chark as well. I think that this is a game that you run people out there on. The over-under of 47, I could see this game going over.
I do, and I can see Miami actually.
I can see Miami winning too. It's not a bad. If you're looking for something with good odds, it's not the worst thing to throw plus money at. I'm more comfortable with the over because I really think that either team could win this game. But
so you did mention Chark. We kind of, I think we got to spend at least a second on him. He's fourth on the team in targets with 7 targets right now.
Yeah,
Chark was a mid-round pick, one of the high targets for these robust RB teams that were built. I made a lot of them, a lot of Chark in a lot of places. Miami, Cincinnati, and Houston, then Detroit. Their bye week's week 7. If he can't get it done against Miami Thursday night, like how long do we have to give Chark a leash until? I won't say give up on him, but until we got to bench him.
So you mentioned getting it done. I mean, the thing about this past week is that while there were only 4 targets, he caught all 4 of them for 84 yards. And you don't.
He's got a 100%
that.
catch rate this season.
Yeah.
He's got 7 catches on 7 targets.
Yeah, you don't love that, but you're okay with that type of performance. It's gonna vary, right? I mean, if he produces on few targets like he did in week 2, and this is where we say week 3 is a quorum. Week 3 really tells you what you need to know. You know DJ Chark is not going to stay at 100% catch rate. Just the odds say that isn't going to happen.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So our target's going to start falling from Keelan Cole to DJ Chark, or from Chris Conley to DJ Chark, or even Tyler Eifert, who saw 6, or is DJ Chark going to continue to be able to produce on few targets and be kind of boom busty? I don't think you can bench DJ Chark yet going into week 3 with a plus matchup. I think week 3 is going to tell you a lot based on the target volume that he gets and what he's able to do with it. We haven't seen target volume in either week. That is a place for concern. We saw him not produce with that in week 1. We saw him produce enough to not kill you in week 2, which you still don't love for the price you paid. So, better options, yeah. I'm running him out there in a plus matchup for week 3, and then I'm reassessing after week 3.
We talked about potential wide receivers to pick up. Keelan Cole, 12 targets to start the year, 11 catches, touchdowns in both games. We constantly talk about how Jacksonville potentially is a funnel for a large amount of pass attempts and a large amount of receiving yards and targets. Not a bad time to proactively pick up Keelan Cole. Hopper, your boy is back on the train. This might be Keelan Cole time again, baby.
I'm okay with Keelan Cole time again.
I know you are.
Anything else to say on Miami Jacksonville? I think that pretty well covers it. Neither defense is great.
No.
Don't go to. Although Miami was, no, neither defense.
They kind of held their own a little bit against Buffalo.
They did, but Josh Allen looked really good at the beginning of that game.
I just think Gardner Minshew is going to find a way. Like Jacksonville starts off 2-1.
Yeah.
When they beat Miami Thursday night, is going to be.
That's why I'm just taking the over. I expect Minshew to win another 30-27 game or something.
I'm fine with that. I may throw a little money on the money line for Miami because this is the best odds, and I think this is a true coin flip of the game.
Yeah. Chicago and Atlanta. I am all over Atlanta on this one, honestly. And the reason is that you've got the Bears defense, which is good, but Atlanta's O-line isn't terrible. I think that they're going to carve it up. Honestly, I do. And I don't know if the Bears offense can keep pace even against a bad defense. They just played the Giants and only managed 20 points.
We saw them struggle against Detroit.
Yeah.
Until the end of the game. At some point, the match is going to kind of wear out. Back-to-back weeks, the defense stepping up and making a play, to seal out a victory.
They were holding on by their pinky at the end of that New York game.
Exactly. Against, one good offense and one bad offense. You throw in Atlanta, who's got an elite offense and
a bad defense.
And a bad defense on the road. Atlanta money line. I think this game goes over. Yeah. I think every game with Atlanta has an equal chance against even a good defense. They'll find a way to get it done at home.
Yeah, Yeah, I was thinking the same thing as I was watching it this week, that every game with Atlanta might go over, but with a good defense, they could end up winning this 27-17 and you don't hit the over. And that's kind of more realistically what I see happening is I don't see Atlanta putting up 35 on the Bears. I don't see the Bears, being able to keep up, though, enough to put 4 touchdowns on the board, for example, even against a bad defense. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm much more comfortable with the money line in this game and taking the Falcons at -3.5. I don't see the Bears pulling this one out. As far as fantasy goes, David Montgomery looked good last week, even after pile driving himself. So I think David Montgomery for the Bears, you're totally on board with that. You're probably on board with Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson, though, was not great week 1. I don't recall seeing the final stat line on him last week, but
3 catches.
Yeah, you have to ask the same thing about Allen Robinson that you just asked about DJ Chark, I think, at this point in time.
I mean, back-to-back great matchups against Detroit and against the Giants, and he has yet to really muster up anything that's worth talking about. Right now he sits at he's got 18 targets, so the target volume is there. The problem is this, it's still Trubisky throwing the football. I'm more comfortable with Robinson because he's getting the target volume. Chark at least is making more of it, but we've seen now in 2 weeks, Minshew being more and more comfortable spreading the football around.
It's kind of the same thing, though, in the sense of if you can't get it going against Atlanta's shit defense, then you really have to start being concerned about it.
Yeah, I mean, you have to make that decision. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to want to buy low on Robinson. Look here at Chicago's upcoming schedule. Colts, Bucks, Panthers. Next 3 games after Atlanta.
Yeah, they don't have any matchups in that stretch against elite defenses.
No, those are all
average to below.
Besides maybe the Colts, those are all 3 game script plus matchups in terms of throwing the football. And negative game scripts in terms of actual overall play. But those are what you want to see from a passing, from a funneled offense to one receiver. With Robinson being that's what you want to see. You just hope that in time those targets will actually result into production and not just whatever. I'm going to look at his uncatchable target rate real quick.
Go ahead. I'll talk about Atlanta. By the way, Anthony Miller, I mentioned him as a potential stream. If you missed somebody, that's also a possibility. As for the Falcons, you're pretty status quo with them. Todd Gurley, you expect running back 2-3 type of performance against the Bears. Julio Jones is good enough. He'll draw Kyle Fuller. Calvin Ridley should be fine. Russell Gage should be completely fine in this one. You don't concern yourself with Atlanta's offense right now.
You just throw them out there. I mean,
yeah, that's all you can do. And for the Bears, I mean, it's really David Montgomery I'm most comfortable with. Allen Robinson, I think you have to ride it one more week because, again, it's a positive matchup. And, all you can really do is play matchups until you're a couple weeks in and, oh, shit, the matchups aren't working. This is another one that says Allen Robinson should produce. The game script says it. The defensive matchup says it. It's just going to be a matter of whether it happens or not.
Yeah, I think just like with Chark, when we're done with this 3 to 4 game stretch, if it's not looking positive, then I think we'll get you have to keep throwing, especially Robinson because he's getting the targets. You got to just throw him out there and
you just got to throw him out there and hope.
Yeah.
Did you find that? Did you player profiler load for you yet? Or
it's bad. It's like a 65% catchable target rate, and that's not counting week 2. In week 2, we had 9 targets and only 3 catches. So I expect that to not be. I expect that to be worse for him. So not good.
Same Bears, different results so far.
Yeah, right.
Bengals, Eagles. Eagles favored by 6.5. I think Cincinnati can pull this one off, given how much of a shit show the Eagles have looked like.
Oh my God, 235 money line. If there's
an underdog you're taking,
God, just imagine if Philly starts out 0-3 Wentz has played bad at back-to-back games.
Jalen Hurts.
Hurts. I mean, it won't take long for Philly fans to turn on you. That's something in all sports, not just football, but in all sports. If you fucking suck, you're gonna hear it. This almost smells like a get-right game, though. This one, as much as I want to take the money line, as much as I want to root for Cincinnati to pull off the upset, this just feels like Philadelphia, multiple touchdowns. Take the over because Cincy's good enough to I won't say keep pace, but at least score some garbage time points.
I'm taking the money line here for Cincy. I think that
I want you to.
I think that Cincy's gonna keep pace. I think that you say this is a get right game for the Eagles. I think this is the chance for Joe Burrow to grab his first win. I think it could be a get right game for Joe Mixon, AJ Green. The Eagles have not looked good throughout the first 2 weeks in the season. In fact, they've looked the opposite of good. They have looked really, really bad. They came out and got beat by Washington. They just got stomped by the Rams. They gave up a ton of yardage to Darrell Henderson and wide receivers. I think that this is a game that the Bengals can actually come out and win. As for the Bengals, I'm starting Joe Mixon with confidence. AJ Green, I guess you can run out there. I don't really know that I'm in love with a whole lot else in the Bengals. Plus matchup, you could look at a guy like Tyler Boyd, who I believe has been getting the lion's share of targets. Drew Sample had 9 targets. What the hell's wrong with that?
That's right, because Uzama got hurt.
Yeah, so
now too.
Tyler Boyd, though, led wide receivers. AJ Green, Tyler Boyd did not lead all receivers. He was just productive with his targets. AJ Green had a very Allen Robinson, 3 for 13. So
22 targets.
Again, though, AJ Green's getting the targets, and this could be a get-right game for him. So I'm, again, going to run AJ Green out there. He's in the same boat as Allen Robinson and DJ Chark, though. If you don't get production out of a game that is a plus matchup, you are probably, after week 3, going to have to sit there and turn and reassess, what am I doing here? Tyler Boyd's really the guy that I'm comfortable with in this one.
I think all fantasy relevant pieces, this could be a high-scoring game. Both defenses are struggling. Burrow just came off of a 61 attempt game. I don't think that's going to be the case again. At least it's not, in good football to be that one-dimensional.
Not if I'm going to win the money line bet. It shouldn't be.
Yeah, but they've been. Burrow and this Bengals have been in both of these games. They had a chance to beat the Chargers. They were in it against the Browns until the end. I don't even have an issue playing Burrow this week. I mean,
no, he's a solid streaming option, especially if you drafted Wentz, for example, and that's not going well for you. I'd rather start Burrow over Wentz at this point.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think Wentz is
Wentz has got to be riding your bench.
In one QB leagues, would you drop? I'm trying to think of a way to frame this. If you saw, let's just go with this. If you saw Burrow out there, would you drop Wentz for Burrow?
Yes.
Would you drop Wentz in one game?
Yeah, Wentz is not better than a streamer at this point.
Yeah,
and really, I don't even know if you can call Wentz a streamer at this point, given that, in week 1, he should have been able to show out a bit against Washington. So, I don't know that you can call Wentz much of anything right now.
Speaking of Philly, Miles Sanders and the tight ends. Is that it? I mean, Miles Sanders, 85% of the snaps.
9 targets for Deshaun Jackson. I think you can make a case for him.
I am.
Yeah, I think that you can make it's. If you're in a situation where you lost people and have Deshaun Jackson on your bench, he's seen 16 targets for the first 2 weeks. So, again, you got to chase volume at some point in time. Deshaun Jackson's the wide receiver in Philly that's getting volume. Other than that, it's the 2 tight ends.
Yeah, 2 tight ends. Sanders not going to play Wentz. Jackson if you need a flex receiver.
Sure.
Money line, I think you're right. I'm probably going to throw $5 on it.
Why not? Plus 235 odds, and it's a winnable game.
Yeah, and then probably play the over.
Yep.
Parlay.
Texans Steelers. So Steelers open as 3.5-point favorites, negative 196 on the money line. Over under on this one is 44.5. The Texans have looked atrocious. I think it's Steelers money line, and I think it's Steelers money line all the way. Your Steelers spread, which is better odds. The Texans did not look great against the Chiefs. Did not look great against the Ravens. Their offense, you'd expect, and I think the NFL and scheduling was expecting, to be able to keep up with those two teams, and it just is not. It has not materialized. It has been entirely out of sync, and the defense has been getting absolutely shredded. Steelers' offense, on the other hand, has been solid the last couple weeks, and we know that the defense has been good, especially the pass rush. I think Steelers at 3.5 is a lock.
Yeah, I mean, like if you have a betting site that allows you to move to spread for better odds, I bumped this to 6.5. I think Pittsburgh can beat them by a touchdown. Are you benching Watson? We're not dropping Watson, but if you can find a better alternative, if you can, I haven't looked at the rest of the games yet, but I mean I can look at them now and see them. But would you bench Watson for a better streamable option?
In this one, yeah, it's very, very possible. I mean, well, then I have to think about the week Jeff Driscoll put up, though, too. So, it'd have to.
That's gonna be someone's gonna make that decision and go, "I played Jeff Driscoll over Deshaun Watson because fuck everything else."
No, I think that with Deshaun Watson, I still have to roll him out there because I don't really know who I see as a streamer right now that I love. Trubisky, you could consider Mitchell Trubisky a potential streamer. He did do okay against the Giants. I mean, consider Joe Burrow a potential streamer, but do I like them better than Deshaun Watson?
Watson has 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. Has already taken 8 sacks. I know sacks don't hurt people for for most leagues. You have to follow that, but you mentioned an elite pass rush. He's got 1 rushing touchdown and 44 yards, so at least he's got it done on the ground a little bit. I think it's not like Pittsburgh's defense is a step down. It might even be a step up from Baltimore.
It could be, and I'm not saying that it is. I'm just saying that is there anybody I look at and think this is a clear-cut better option that's available on waivers? Can you honestly look me in the eye and say that Mitchell Trubisky or Joe Burrow is going to be a clear-cut better option than Deshaun Watson?
Would you play Gardner Minshew over Deshaun Watson?
Yeah, probably.
I think Minshew's probably still a streamable option.
I may do that, honestly. I may go grab Gardner Minshew.
Look at Matthew Stafford. He might be dropped coming off of... he had a good game against Green Bay, but he probably wouldn't be dropped.
Actually,
not the best example.
Let's do this.
That might be it. That might be it. You're not dropping. There's a lot of good guys. So many good games next week.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson or who's Matthew Stafford against the Cardinals.
I would play Matthew Stafford. I don't think he'd be dropped at this point. What about Baker against Washington? Washington's got a great offensive, or he's got an elite pass rush. What about Ryan Tannehill against Minnesota? Minnesota's defense. That's a good game.
What about Ryan Fitzpatrick against Jacksonville?
Yeah, so I think
there are options out there. Watson could very well end up in timeout this week because of some of the options that you have. I think you could make a case for any of those. I mentioned Stafford because on my one Deshaun Watson share, my backup quarterback is Matt Stafford. So
I think in one of the leagues I have Watson. I think I only have Watson in one dynasty league. I think I have Big Ben.
Yep.
As my backup.
Are we full go on the Steelers at this point, especially Deontay Johnson? I answered a question about him last week and said I wanted to see more productivity on his 10 targets. Saw more productivity. I think we've got to be full go on the Steelers here.
I mentioned this last night on the show that I did, the guest spot I did with Matt and his show that they do every Sunday after the game. Deontay Johnson back-to-back double target weeks. This could be. He's not Antonio Brown, obviously, but he's leading the team in targets, and he got his touchdown. I think this is when we got to be on board Deontay as an everyday, as an every week treated starter.
I think you got to go full send on Deontay Johnson, Juju Smith-Schuster, James Conner, Ben Roethlisberger as being another potential streamer that I like better than Deshaun Watson. For the Texans wide receivers, Will Fuller, watch his health. Other than that, I don't like anything that's materialized there. And I really, if you have a better option than David Johnson this week, could make an argument for sit David Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, Brandon Cooks, one of these receivers. I think Watson is going to be good enough to make one of these receivers produce. Oh, I just spilled my beer. Jesus Christ, Dan.
Get your shit
that's
together.
actually how I feel about this Houston team. It brings so much anger. I actually spilled beer on me. I don't even want to talk about him anymore.
Okay. Well, I did the analysis part. Let's move on. Raiders and Patriots. So I'll get my first look at the Raiders tonight. But the Cam Newton Patriots actually offensively look good. Patriots open at -6.5, or at 6.5 point favorites. -290 on the odds front. Over under on this one's 47.5. I need to see the Raiders play tonight before I can I really make a full-sale comfortable decision on what to do with this as far as from a betting standpoint. I like the Patriots money line. It's not great odds. What I mean here is that I think the Patriots are going to win this game. I need to see the Raiders play before I can make a comfortable decision on a 6.5 point spread.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders can't keep up. I expect New England's defense to be better. I just think Seattle it's just going to be really good this year, and we saw how the offense looks when Wilson is playing on this insane level. Derek Carr hit one deep target last week. Ruggs is going to be active tonight with the active list, with the ins and outs list being posted. I think New England gets up comfortably and just coasts.
Yeah.
I think this is the under. Oakland, the Raiders outside of Josh Jacobs and maybe Darren Waller, maybe. We'll see how that targets will play out. Make me feel like how this beer kind of makes me feel, and that's just
not great, but
I mentioned how I don't like nitro. I think nitro flattens the beer too much, makes it feel watered down, and it doesn't give enough creaminess, especially in a beer that is not inherently going to be creamy in general. Outside of it being a coffee milk sauce, coffee brings out more, of a bitterness to it. And I don't want to have a nitro version of that. So I had the base of this beer last year or 2 years ago when it wasn't nitro, and it was fantastic. This year with it, though, it's a hard pass for me. I didn't have to pay for it, thankfully. So my coworker wanted to see if I would dislike it as much as he did. I took the plunge with him on the show. And I would, a 10 out of 10, not buy this.
Sure. All right, back to the Patriots. Darren Waller, Josh Jacobs are the only two Raiders you're starting. Adjust that pending Henry Ruggs tonight, but really I don't see anybody else that's going to jump out there. For the Patriots, Cam Newton, you're good with. Sonny Michel did nothing yet again. Just a reason to where somebody dropped Damian Harris. Go pick up Damian Harris.
I don't think any running backs only. Cam Newton had every goal line carry.
He did
last night. He has more rushing. I think he leads the league, or is tied. I think McCaffrey has 4 rushing touchdowns. I think he's tied with lead league in rushing touchdowns through 2 weeks. That's where Cam is, and if he's getting all the goal line work, and I don't think it matters if it's Damian Harris or Sonny Michel. I think it's going to be Cam Newton.
So my point was that Damian Harris is probably worth more than 7 carries for 19 yards.
Probably. But they mix in Rex Burkhead. They'll get James White back.
6 carries for 2 yards.
Yeah.
Rex Burkhead. So I'm just saying, the longer this goes, the better it is to roster Damian Harris, because if you're going to have any back that's rosterable outside of James White for the Patriots, it's looking less and less like it's Sony Michel or Rex Burkhead and Damian Harris is absent. And I think he's going to get every chance to do something productive.
I think he will. It's just insane to look at Cam Newton's averaging 61 yards on the ground, and he has 4 rushing touchdowns. I mean, it was insane. Like, they had 3 or 4 separate times they were at the 1 yard line. So I don't expect that to happen obviously every game, but
right.
Cam Newton has looked to have paid off, at least for 2 weeks, has paid off on that late round drafting.
Yeah, and you're not gonna change that with you're not gonna change that against Oakland either. Cam Newton is a start. Julian Edelman is a start. N'Keal Harry is a start. Damiere Byrd falling off of that one. 9 targets, 6 receptions, 72 yards, but pull back on Damiere Byrd because I don't expect this game to be nearly the shootout, and I think that that's where your extra throws were necessitated. I don't expect Cam to come out and have to throw 44 times against the Raiders. So
I'm actually not playing. I would only play
Edelman.
I would only play Cam Newton. I wouldn't even play Edelman. I mean, we think that this is going to be New England gets up early and just kind of just lets the defense and the running game kind of control it. Maybe Edelman.
Yeah, but you have to have a running game.
Cam Newton has shown he can do it enough.
Yeah, but you're not running your quarterback 30 times a game if you're playing ahead of time.
Not,
so, and you're not.
I can see them running Sony Michel and Rex Burkhead and James. I think JJ Taylor has been getting run.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it matters.
JJ Taylor 1 carry for negative a yard.
I'm not saying.
You can keep throwing running backs out here, and I'll keep telling you why they're shit and why they're not going to run Cam Newton.
That's fine, but we're not
times.
talking about the running back. We're talking about would I play Julian Edelman in a game that looks to be negative game script away from passing the football?
And I'm saying that I would. He still saw 7 targets in week 1 against Miami. This is a guy that just went for 179 yards on just 11 targets in week 2. So it's not like you need to feed him double-digit targets for him to give you a startable week when you're missing multiple wide receiver pieces and multiple possible flex pieces due to injury.
Fine. I'll play him for his week 1 production. I mean, that's 10 points in full PPR. I can't be upset with that.
Yeah, and they were ahead in that game too, and that's exactly the game script you're expecting here. It was a 21-11 win. And
5 for 57.
Yeah. I mean, you're not disappointed with that as a flex play, and especially in full PPR. Cam Newton only had to pass 20 times.
Yeah, I expect that to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe. Nope. N'Keal Harry. No. Yeah. Either way, this game.
Julian Edelman, sure. N'Keal Harry, maybe. Again, need to see Oakland tonight. Don't start the running backs. I think we can agree on that.
We could definitely. Maybe James White. Maybe Oakland, or I kind of want to see. Maybe the Raiders surprise us, and maybe White gets all the work in the running game when they're out by 2 touchdowns in the second quarter.
Well, that very well could be as well, because he might be the only one that can run.
We haven't seen James White run the football.
He might be the only one that can run for. Yeah, we're Stephen Ridley.
Fuck that. Oof.
Rams, Bills. Bills open as 2.5-point favorites on this one.
That's going to be a fun game.
That's going to be a really fun game. Josh Allen looks good. Rams also look good again. That's going to be an incredibly fun game. I don't know who you take in the money line, but you take the money line. I don't know that the Bills at -2.5, the Bills by less than a field goal is something I want to bet on. If you're going to go, just go.
Yeah, I think Rams money line. I don't think Buffalo's defense is as good as advertised. I mean, Miami just put 30 points on them.
And the Rams have enough weapons. What's really going to be the key is, can they slow down the Rams pass rush? And can they keep up? And I think that the Bills can. How good's Josh Allen going to play?
He's looked good.
Yeah, he's looked really good
these 2 weeks.
So, but I'm with you. If I'm betting this game, I'm taking the Rams money line, and that's not because I don't think Buffalo can win. That's just because that gives you by far the best odds on this one. And I'm not confident enough in, but I think that it's pretty even if you ask me. So I'm not confident enough of Buffalo at negative 154. There's not enough ROI on that for me.
Yeah. I wouldn't be shocked if one of these teams actually, I wouldn't say blows out, but wins handedly.
Over unders 47.5. I think this is one that could go over.
I maybe if Buffalo gets up early, it's because Goff and the Rams just look lackluster. If the Bills defense steps up,
They haven't for the first 2
the
weeks.
Bills can suffocate a team, and we saw them get relaxed against Miami. That's what happened. I still don't think their defense is as good as I thought it was. But this is a game where you could this is their staple game. Like this is the game that they have to mark down and go. We have to win this game. I would just take the Rams money line. I wouldn't bet heavy on it. I wouldn't do it as a single bet. I throw it in a parlay and just kind of hope that it pays off with the money line play.
Yeah, Rams money line. I'm also going to take the over in this game. I think that this has the makings to be a little bit of a.
I hope so.
Of a, 30-26 win, basically.
I've been wrong for 2 weeks on both Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs. Diggs has worked. I love Diggs. Massive Diggs fan. I did not expect to see. Hey, I just don't expect to see Josh
on to
Allen
fantasy.
40 times.
On to fantasy. I'm kind of every relevant fantasy piece in this game. I am 100% on Devin Singletary. Watch out the Cam Akers. Do you follow up Daryl? I think we got to talk about the Rams backs a bit, but as far as Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Tyler Higbee, Josh Allen, Jared Goff, Stephon Diggs, John Brown, I'm all on board with that. Devin Singletary, even, I'm on board with that. As far as the Rams running backs, though, does Darrell Henderson repeat? Is it Malcolm Brown? Do you flex them both? I mean, are we leaning any particular direction there?
No, because we don't know what the status of Cam Akers is. If Akers is going to go, you're going to have to pick and choose.
Still a backfield to avoid, in your opinion, because it isn't mine.
Yeah, I'm not playing. I don't even feel that comfortable with Buffalo's backfield. Thankfully, a Devin Singletary had a better game in week 2. Zach Moss just looked like a rookie. I'm pulling up the box where I'm clicking the wrong fucking link.
I got it.
Yeah.
So Zach Moss was.
In a game that scored that many points.
7. Singletary was 10 for 56. 76 all-purpose yards for Singletary, which was flex-worthy. Zach Moss, you're done with, I think, for now.
I don't think I would play Singletary. I think if I think the Rams are going to have a better pass rush, a better run defense than what the Miami Dolphins put out there. I may get burnt by this. I'm okay not running out both Singletary or Moss, and if one of them goes off, I just live with it. So I don't trust both.
131 all-purpose yards for Sanders is the only reason I'm like, okay, maybe Singletary as well. I mean, Rams did not look good in run defense against Philly.
But that's also Miles Sanders.
It is,
and that's also Sanders getting 85% of the snaps, Singletary 56%.
No,
Zach Moss,
they've got to move off of. They've got to move off of Zach Moss at some point.
I don't think they will.
Argument
I don't think they trust Singletary as an every down back. I wouldn't trust.
Would you trust Zach Moss right now?
I wouldn't. I don't trust either of them. So that's why I think they're both going to keep
you're a coach. You got to trust somebody.
I'll trust Josh Allen at that point.
You're coaching college football is what I picked up from the Cam Newton and Josh Allen comments. You're just running your quarterback.
I'm not running Zach Moss out there, and I don't really want to. I mean, I'm gonna have to put Singletary. Like if you drafted him, you took him in the 6th or 7th round, probably as your RB2 or 3, hopefully 4. We just saw a plethora of injuries come about.
I guess I should quantify. Singletary's probably flex worthy if you have to.
Yeah, that would be my I'm not feeling great about it.
I'm not saying
if I'm
he's
going
a
to bet
start
on
of
a
the
running
week.
back in this offense, I'm betting Singletary over Moss.
Yeah, I'm not saying Singletary's the start of the week by any means. I'm not saying throw him out there and expect him to just absolutely go off. I'm saying you should be fine if you lost CMC, for example. If you lost Saquon Barkley and happen to have Singletary and need to plug him in, he shouldn't dud you.
When was the last time the 101 and the 102 have gone down for a significant amount of time?
I have no idea.
Oof, I feel bad for those people.
Yeah, I'm thinking back through the last couple of years. You lost David Johnson the year that he was a top 3 pick, but Gurley just underperformed. He didn't get hurt.
Either way,
I don't know.
Through them. It just
maybe
I think it's just a feel bad moment.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe David Johnson and Odell Beckham a couple years back was the first time you had 2 high round draft picks both get hurt for a significant time. But I'd have to go look at that, and I'm not going to do that right now.
No. All right, let's keep it moving so I can put bets in before the game kicks off.
Niners Giants. Niners favored by 4. Missing 90% of everybody.
Can I just not play anybody from this game?
Yeah.
Can I just say
no? Perfectly on board with that.
I don't want anybody.
George Kittle or Jordan Reed. That might be the only person I want.
It's Slayton.
Jerick McKinnon.
Yeah. Jerick McKinnon I'll play. Montgomery had a great game.
Yeah.
In both on the ground and through the air.
Yep. Give me Jerick McKinnon, Darius Slayton, and whoever the tight end is for San Francisco.
I don't even want to bet this game.
I don't either.
Because
it could be a trap. San Francisco's got a backup quarterback and is missing half of everybody. Do they find a win? Yeah,
40.5 points. Are the Jets are the Jets on the Giants, or are the Giants on the Jets level of bad?
Hell, we could take the under in this one and feel good about it. Maybe.
I thought the same way, but the Niners put up 31 points against the Jets. The Jets had that fucking garbage touchdown at the end that pushed the game over.
I think the Giants
40.5 points.
I think the Giants
not a lot of points.
Might be better than the Jets, but
I don't want to bet this game. I want to play McKinnon, either of Kittle or Reed.
Kittle should be back.
Maybe Ingram. I think that's it.
Yeah, Kittle's expected to be back too.
Yeah, and this game we can move on from.
Titans Vikings. Titans favored by 2.5 points. I'm taking the Titans money line here. Or not the Titans money line. Sorry, I'm taking the Titans spread here. I do not, given what we've seen out of Minnesota, expect this to go well.
They just lost Anthony Barr for the season. This defense is rattled with injuries. No Hunter is still on IR for 1 more week. The secondary, it's fucking terrible. The Cousins has seen as much go as Sam Darnold did against the Patriots last year. I'm taking all Tennessee players. I don't know if Minnesota can even score enough points to push this over. I thought that was going to be the case against the Colts on Sunday, and that was completely fucking gone.
Yeah, I took the Titans. I took the Vikings money line against the Colts, and boy, did that
was one of my favorite plays.
Yeah,
I was like, the Colts look fucking terrible.
The Vikings are bad.
They are the second worst team in football right now. No one's even close to the Jets. The Vikings are the second worst in my opinion.
Yeah, they're bad. It's Thielen and Cook there, and that's it.
Yeah. We got to wait and see something. On Tennessee side, Tannehill, Henry, Brown, if he could be healthy. Jonnu fucking Smith, boy, 3 touchdowns.
Jonnu Smith was fantastic.
2 weeks, let's go.
Jonnu Smith is just a plug-and-play start at this point.
Let's fucking go.
Corey Davis, A.J. Brown, Derrick Henry, Ryan Tannehill.
If Brown can play, I'm playing Brown. This could be a low-volume play, so if you want to pivot off of Tannehill, if you think that, I can see why you do that. Derrick Henry is going to run it down their fucking toes. Taylor went for over 100 yards and a touchdown in his second game in his first game ever as a starter. Derrick Henry on a whole nother playing field, 20 pounds heavier, just as fast. Henry's going to he might go for over 202. So
sure.
It may happen.
And the Titans are like anything you get from Weller. They're just steady. They're steady good. And Weller, with everything they do, is steady good. Special reserve is no different. This is not a surprise to me. If you can find it for retail, you're paying, I want to say, like $30 a bottle. And what you get out of it is you get just kind of your classic bourbon notes. You start out just kind of nice and easy. There is a slight oakiness to Weller that gets more prominent the more you go up in age. It's there in Special Reserve, but it's not as prominent as it is in 107 or 12. Following that up, you get your classic vanilla and caramel notes. It finishes off with a little bit of citrus from the wheat. Wheat gives it a nice full body, even though this is not, a 12-year or 7-year bourbon. And you get a little bit of a Kentucky hug at the end from just a tad bit of heat off of this one. So overall, it's just a nice, steady bourbon. Miss when this thing was readily available everywhere on shelves. Buffalo Trace is working on it. Right now, if you can find one, definitely pick it up. It's a great deal for the price. Just like betting the Titans, well, money line or spread for that matter. Good deal for the price. All right, the football team versus the Browns. Browns are favored by 7 in this one.
You think they're a little too ahead after how bad Cleveland looked week 1?
It's cool.
They looked better. I mean, Washington, it's bad on paper.
It's quorum week. I mean, we'll find out, right? Bad in week 1, good in week 2. Week 3 tells us what you really are.
I think 7 points. I know they're at home.
That might be a little too much. I agree.
That might be. I'm not taking the money line. I don't think the Washington shower curtains are going to be good enough to beat them on the road. But garbage time. If Cleveland gets up early, they'll run the football. It's Kevin Stefanski. If he gets a lead and has an opportunity, he will run the football. I don't think they cover the 7. I think Washington plus 7 is a fine play.
Yeah.
This week.
And I don't think this is a game you have to get too super cute with either. Odell Beckham, you're totally fine with. He's been the team leader in targets. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, like you just said, Stefanski will run. They are both very, very startable almost any given week. On the Washington side of the ball, it's Terry McLaurin, and I don't really want to do with anything else over there. So,
agree.
Panthers, Chargers favored by 7.5. Not if Tyrod Taylor's starting. Over under in this one's 44. Negative 335 on the money line here. This is a game that I'm not betting. The odds aren't good enough for me to take the money line. If Tyrod Taylor plays, I don't like the spread, and I really don't like the over under. And again, it's just Tyrod Taylor, right? So.
I don't think Taylor is going to play. I think Herbert's going to play. I just don't. I think this is an overreaction to CMC being out, and this I think that it's tough though because the Chargers have a great defense, especially pass rush and especially in the secondary.
I would take the spread.
I would take the under at this point and just not even bet the spread.
I would take the spread if I knew for sure that Justin Herbert was playing.
I think it's like a 95. I mean, Tyrod had to go to the hospital with chest issues. There's no way he plays so far.
Unless tests come back good. I mean, not the sport. Jason Hayward went to the hospital with, faintness and lightheadedness and was back in the lineup in 3 days. So we'll have to watch practice reports for this one on Tyrod Taylor, and we'll have to figure out if Anthony Lynn's a liar or not. I'm staying away from this.
Yeah. I would 100% assume that it's going to be Justin Herbert.
Every fiber of my body wants to believe Anthony Lynn's a liar and it's going to be Justin Herbert. But football coaches
going to be 100%.
Football coaches do dumb things to piss off the fantasy community. Tyrod Taylor had a phantom injury. If everything comes back negative and good, he could go. It could have been fully precautionary, right? So you're going to have to watch it throughout the week. That's the only thing I can say is you're going to have to watch it because a lot of what goes on with the Chargers depends on who's starting. Chargers, your guarantees right now are Austin Eckler and Joshua Kelly. We saw Herbert use the hell out of Hunter Henry. We saw Taylor use the hell out of Hunter Henry. You can play Hunter Henry. Keenan Allen, to me, is much in the same boat as a DJ Chark and an Allen Robinson. Do you agree with that statement?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to put in bets that are like fucking up here.
Yeah.
Not being a best co-host at this moment.
No, you're not. You kind of suck right now. No offense. Yeah, Keenan Allen. Well, Keenan Allen didn't have a bad week. He was quietly at 96 yards on 10 targets, so that's pretty good.
That's why I want Justin Herbert to play.
Yeah,
I think that
because
it helps to fix it.
But if it's Tyrod, then you can't guarantee that. So Hunter Henry, Josh Kelly, Austin Eckler are the only two things you can guarantee. If Herbert's playing, I'm fine with Keenan Allen as well. For the Panthers, DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson have both had big weeks. I expect them to have bigger weeks, bigger roles, given that the Chargers or the Panthers should be playing from behind in this one.
We hope so. I think at this point we can move on from Ian Thomas, and maybe Curtis Samuel gets a little bit of run with the absence of Christian McCaffrey, but who knows? I don't want to run out any running back. I agree. It's going to be DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson.
Yeah.
Do you hope one of them gets a big touchdown?
Yeah.
Or at least enough volume.
Yeah, and as far as Mike Davis goes, it's not a great matchup. Jets, Colts. Colts favored by 10.5 in this one. That feels like maybe.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. It could be. That's too big of a spread, though. That's a trap. I'm staying away from this game on bets as well. Colts are going to win, but negative 500 odds, a 10.5 point spread. Maybe the best way to do this is Colts money line and a parlay, where you just throw two, negative 200 plus odd games together. Maybe you throw the Colts and the Chargers into a parlay with $1 and make it worth your time. That's probably the best thing you can do with this game from a betting perspective. From a playing, what's that?
I'm just looking at other games to see what you could parlay with that. Colts and Titans.
Yeah.
Yes.
Colts, Titans, and Chargers. Throw them into a parlay.
Yeah.
Right. That being said, as far as fantasy options in this game for the Jets, I want nothing. Give me nothing. You get nothing. You take nothing.
If Crowder plays, which I think is expected to be.
If Crowder plays, then yes, he'll get double-digit targets and be usable.
Yeah.
Early in the week, we'll see. For the Colts, whoever the tight end is, and Jonathan Taylor. Now, Nyheim Hines, maybe.
I don't think game script's going to be good enough.
I don't think it's going to be good enough for Hines either.
He had one target.
Yeah.
No carries.
Hines
was fucking useless.
Jonathan Taylor and whoever the tight end is for the Colts.
Yep, that's it. JT, maybe Pittman.
Yeah, Pittman. Again, I don't think the game script's going to be good enough for Pittman either. Tight end's first read for Rivers.
Or the check down.
Yeah. Cowboys Seahawks. This is your fantasy funhouse of the week. So
much fun.
As it will be most weeks. Seahawks favored by 4.5. I like the Seahawks by 4.5. I really do. Over under 55.5. This one probably going to go over. Honestly.
You're playing every viable piece.
Yep.
And
there's not much else to say about that. You're playing every viable piece in this one.
I mean, Russ is on a fucking tear. Nine passing touchdowns. Dak Prescott became the first quarterback in league history to throw for 400 passing yards and 3 rushing touchdowns.
Yeah.
Because Vuck seek at the goal line, just give it to Dak. I mean, Dak is a new Cam Newton at this point.
Yep. So, just for the rundown of what that means Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper, Zeke Elliott, Russell Wilson, I already said DK Metcalf, didn't I? No. I said CeeDee Lamb, Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Chris Carson.
Hell, you can even put in Dalton Schultz.
Yeah, don't do that.
He had 9 targets, 9 targets, 90 yards, and a touchdown on 72% of the snaps.
Yeah, they're not.
We expect Dallas to throw the football.
Yeah, but do you expect him to have to come back down from 20 to nothing again?
I don't think it the point differential means as much more as I think that Dallas is going to continue to throw the football on the road in dome conditions against a high-powered offense, especially a high-powered, efficient offense like Seattle. I can see Dallas getting down early again and having to throw to keep up. It's a bad defense. It's good in a couple years defense. A bunch of rookies. They're missing Vander Esch, he's out for the year.
You know who Dalton Schultz-wise is not bad on that Seattle defense, though? The safeties.
Oh.
Now, if you're arguing for, this league against the Cowboys, sure. But the safeties...
I play in both. I still think... I still don't have an issue playing Dalton Schultz. You may take a dud. It could happen. But I think game script-wise and what we expect from scoring, we know Dak likes to use his side ends. Gallup has now become the 3. He's been out-targeted multiple times in a game that Dak threw as much as he did. It was Cooper and Lamb, Schultz.
You can start Dalton Schultz. I am not touching it.
Okay.
I do not like that matchup. Detroit Lions, Arizona Cardinals. Cardinals favored by 5.5 in this one. Over/under on this one is 54.5. That is surprising.
We need Kenny Golladay back. Like this Lions team is desperate for the number 1 receiver. Hockenson and Marvin Jones are good enough to get it done, but Hawk is being kept in the block a little bit more than what we want to see.
I would expect this game to be high 40s, not in the barn burner category where everyone would be relevant, but Golladay is expected to be back.
I mean, it's not a bad... This is a sneaky stat game for DFS. Murray and Hopkins have been... Murray has been as good as Wilson. He just doesn't get the conversations about it. Murray's looked fantastic. And Detroit's offense is good enough to score a lot of points, and they have a terrible defense against a high pace of play offense whose running game has been lackluster at best.
Yeah.
This could go massively under with a lot of turnovers, or this could go massively over.
Yeah, over/under I think is a trap. I think the safest bet is probably the Cardinals at -5.5. This is another one that I just throw the Cardinals money line into a parlay with. That being said, from a fantasy perspective, Hopkins, Drake, Murray, Stafford, Golladay, Jones, running backs for the Lions are a big question mark. Hawkinson I'd be okay with, but it's really your Lions running backs that are kind of the only thing I'm steering clear from. But even in saying that, Adrian Peterson has led the team in rushing the last 2 weeks, so if you got to start one, that's who it is.
God, even that feels gross.
I didn't love saying it, but
at least, fuck, Kerryon Johnson got ran. Actually, Johnson leads the team in carries.
Kerryon Johnson had a touchdown. It's just Adrian Peterson's been more efficient. He's led in rushing yards the last 2 weeks. Of course, it was only 41 last week, so I would say punt the rushing game for the Lions.
I wouldn't even play Peterson if we expect this to be a lot more throwing. If I'm playing any running back, if I have to, I would play Swift.
Yeah,
Swift would be the guy
because he's getting the targets.
Yeah,
5 of 5 for 60 yards. So, no, that's a good call out. If you have to play a running back, it's DeAndre Swift. I would punt the running game here if I could, but
yeah,
especially with Kenny Golladay coming back, that's not going to do good things for target volume.
Nope. But it will for scoring.
Yeah, Bucks favored by 6. I would take the money line, or not the money line. I would take the spread there for the Bucks. Over/under in this one is 43.5. Could be. As far as fantasy relevant options, Godwin, Evans, Fournette, I'm okay with in this one. Brady's look decent.
I think, yeah,
This
one almost feels like a trap game for fantasy. I mean, it won't be. I think
it won't be.
Evans will have their own. The running backs feel like a trap. I'm playing Melvin Gordon.
Melvin Gordon's looked good.
Pittsburgh defense.
Melvin Gordon's looked good the last 2 weeks. I think that Melvin Gordon at this point, you're just plugging him in and starting him. I think that he's been okay in Denver. I think that part of the success of Driscoll and even Locke has been that Denver's O-line has not looked bad.
Yeah, especially with the pieces they're missing. Fant and Judy, I think both get stream-worthy plays.
Yeah.
I don't hate Driscoll because I think Tampa Bay's going to score enough points, but again, Brady's ran into the same issues as Winston did, just unnecessary turnovers.
Yeah. Back-to-back 100-yard weeks against Denver from a running back perspective. So, I think that you do plug in, game script-wise as well. You take the leap and just plug in Fournette.
Yeah, I don't have an issue. Gronk's an afterthought, so maybe Howard can get a bit more run, but Godwin coming back, I think, kind of muddles that.
Yep, I agree. Game script wise, I expect Tampa Bay to be up in this one. I expect them to, be able to run the football a little bit while they're up. And like I said, Derrick Henry and James Conner back-to-back 100-yard weeks against the Broncos. So Fournette for me, and I like the Bucs spread. Broncos side of things, it's Melvin Gordon. Jerry Jeudy plays. I think you can start him with some confidence, and no Fant.
Yep.
All right, keeping it moving. We're close to kickoff. Packers, Saints. Saints favored by -4.5 in this one. You're starting all of your fantasy pieces. Literally,
that's it.
Yep, I don't want to bet. I don't want to bet this game. It's too much for a toss-up.
Over. I think there's going to be a lot of scores.
Over at 51.5 is fine. I don't want to pick a winner, though, in any form.
I take Green Bay in the money line if I have to, just because it gets the best odds.
It's better odds. But if I feel comfortable about something here, it's the over. Saints, all your relevant pieces. We'll see how the target volume goes tonight. So just keep an eye on Traquan Smith, Manuel Sanders. Packers, Jones, Adams if he plays. Valdez, Scantling, Lazard, you can be okay with all of that because we expect it to be high scoring. Do you have any problems with the secondary or tertiary wide receivers in Green Bay?
No.
All right, Chiefs, Ravens. That one will be fun. That's going to be a lot of fun. I would take the over at 53.5.
Yeah.
I would take the over.
Yeah. Ugh. That's so high. I almost want to not bet the over/under. I almost want to take the Chiefs in the money line.
Chiefs are
3 points, whatever.
Chiefs are underdogs at 3 points. The money line's plus 156. I would just, if you're gonna bet the Chiefs to cover 3, I would just go ahead and bet the money line at plus 156.
Exactly.
So, I'm with you on that. I can get behind you on that. I think the Chiefs just know how to win football games. I think that's something the Ravens are still kind of figuring out. I think they have a lot of talent, but I think they're still kind of figuring out just how do you snatch victory from the jaws of defeat,
Can they actually make a comeback? Just as you said, the Ravens, I think the last couple of years have blown. I knew they'd blown the league 2 years ago against Kansas City.
Yeah.
We've seen Mahomes countless times make his own comebacks, especially if they get down early. We saw it in their Super Bowl run last winter. If Baltimore does not get up early, it puts the vice grips down.
Yeah.
Chiefs money line on this, and as for fantasy, it's
pretty chalk. The only thing I think here that's not chalk is Mecole Hardman. If Sammy Watkins doesn't go, I think you can find a reason to start him.
If you want to,
if you have to,
just play the big four. I won't even play any secondary pieces from the Chiefs and just play Mahomes, Hilaire, Hill, and
Kelsey,
and maybe not expect a higher scoring game from Mahomes, and just kind of hope that CEH can find some target volume in the end zone.
Hardman again for me is just if you have to.
Yeah.
If he's on waivers and you had to pick him up because you lost Cortland Sutton, for example, it should be a high-scoring game. So there's always that chance.
Yeah, then with Baltimore, Lamar Jackson. Marquise
Brown, Mark Andrews.
and Mark, and that would be it. I still don't want to put the running backs. I still don't want to have to guess who gets the running touchdown.
Yeah.
I don't trust Ingram. I definitely don't trust Edwards, and I gotta wait until
see
an
Dobbins.
injury to play Dobbins.
If I have to trust one of them, it's Mark Ingram, just because he's done it in every week except week 1, and he still had the opportunity to do it in week 1, just couldn't get going. So if I have to trust somebody, it's Ingram, but I'm with you. If you don't have to, don't. All right, that's our show.
That's the show.
I think that's just how I'm going to end it. That's the show.
That's the show.
It'll be uploaded tomorrow morning because I'm probably not doing it tonight. No reason to.
It's Monday. We don't need to be that quick about it.